When you hand over that rent check on the first of the month, the assumption is your landlord makes an absolute fortune off it. Take a typical rental home in a high-demand city like Austin or Phoenix. It rents for about $2,800 a month. That rent check must survive a gauntlet before it becomes profit. Subtract the mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. That $2,800 often leaves the owner with just $200 to $400 in cash, a tiny return of roughly 1% to 4% a year. That margin is remarkably fragile. If a water heater bursts or insurance premiums spike, as they recently did across Florida, that cash flow vanishes entirely. So if the visible cash flow is this vulnerable, and a standard savings account offers better odds without the midnight plumbing emergencies, why is real estate America's ultimate wealth engine? Because that rent check is only the visible surface. There is an entirely separate, invisible ledger operating quietly underneath it. The 70-year fixed mortgage is locked in on day one. Rent, however, tracks the market and never sits still. With each lease, rent steps up, while the bank payment stays frozen. Over a decade, this widening gap becomes thousands in extra annual profit, generated on autopilot. The second layer of wealth generation is sitting hidden right inside that fixed mortgage payment. A monthly loan is two payments stapled together. Interest is a bank fee, but principal converts directly into owner's equity. Month after month, these blocks stack up, quietly buying the landlord a larger slice of the house outright, all funded by the tenant. To the tenant, a rent hike simply looks like the rising cost of living. Mechanically, they are functioning as an automated debt payment machine, systematically buying a house for someone else. The third pile of money doesn't rely on the rent or the loan at all. It happens to the physical building. Over long stretches, home values historically climb. Leave a $300,000 property alone for a decade, and sheer market appreciation pushes its value past $450,000. Because the landlord only put down 20% in cash, roughly $60,000, they control an asset worth 5 times what they paid. A modest 4% market gain on the entire house translates to a 20% return on their actual cash investment. Once that value balloons, an owner doesn't sell to access the money. A cash-out refinance pulls that newfound 6-figure equity straight into their bank account. Here is the crucial detail. Because the IRS views a refinance as a loan, every single dollar of that massive payout is completely tax-free. The tenant continues living in the house, paying the carrying costs, while a 6-figure tax-free windfall materializes entirely for the owner. The final mechanism is buried within the federal tax code. It is a massive deduction known as depreciation. The government lets landlords deduct the building's value from their taxable income. They pretend the asset is degrading, even as its market price climbs. This paradox allows them to collect rent, build equity, and extract cash, while legally reporting a loss to erase their taxes. Now take those 4 layers, the fixed debt, the equity paydown, the appreciation, and the tax shield, and hand them to Wall Street. Investment behemoths like Blackstone and Invitation Homes have acquired hundreds of thousands of single-family properties, deploying entire teams of accountants to optimize these exact deductions. Their goal is not to scrape a few $100s in monthly cash flow. Instead, they are scaling a 4-layer financial machine across a nationwide portfolio to systematically shelter billions of dollars in wealth. When you pull back and look at the entire system, the true function of the rent check starts to look very different. The rent check functions as the operational fuel that powers the debt, equity, and tax machine in the background. Each payment is a turn of the gear, systematically retiring the landlord's debt until the asset is owned outright. The tenant funds the loan. The housing market builds the appreciation. The government provides the tax shield, and the landlord keeps the wealth. Ultimately, the lease serves as the contractual link between a resident's monthly expenses and the landlord's long-term wealth accumulation.